Happy Memorial Day to everyone watching. Enjoy the nice weather and spend time with your families if you can. Otherwise, be safe, please. When it comes to rumors and leaks, I'm generally neutral or hesitant on buying them and taking stock. You guys can kind of guess my stance on why I'm not a fan of them for several reasons. But when it comes to believing them, minus some instances here and there, I usually try not to delve deep or submit to most of them. Every now and then I'll talk about certain gaming rumors or leaks, usually if they're prominent enough to where they're practically unavoidable, or if the idea surrounding some leaks makes too much sense realistically to where it's less about the leak itself and more about how logically it can happen. For example, Super Mario 3D All-Stars was leaked several months before its announcement, and the rumors detailed a collection of 3D Mario games for Mario's 35th anniversary, alongside Mario 3D World getting a port. Multiple sources were claiming this, it was everywhere, and even if both of these made some logical sense on account it's the 35th anniversary of Nintendo's biggest IP, it was unavoidable across many fans and supposed outlets. Another example of it just being a prominent hard leak or rumor to kill is Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle existing. That was another leak that existed for like 2 years, and multiple people kept saying it was a thing. On the other side, Donkey Kong's 35th anniversary is this year. We haven't gotten a new DK game in forever. Nintendo in-house is making the game instead of retro. The series getting a new game this year just makes plenty of logical sense. And with Sonic leaks, plenty come and go from time to time, and many end up not being true. One says an Adventure 3-like game is coming, the other emphasizes a specific focus on the Hedgehogs, Sonic, Amy, and Shadow, etc. Usually most Sonic fans don't buy or take stock in a ton of them. However, with this recent teaser of a new Sonic game coming in 2022, this particular one is unbelievably hard to avoid and is everywhere among Sonic fans that it's hard not to talk about. The prevalence and abundance of discussion surrounding it, and the logic surrounding it, isn't really unrealistic by a major margin, if that, in my opinion, either. Not only that, but SEGA seems to have screwed up twice in basically confirming this leak. Even then, stuff like Sonic Colors Ultimate and Sonic Origins were leaked prior to the event, and both of those leaks were both somewhat prevalent, yet made plenty of sense between the anniversary, the legacies surrounding those games, and SEGA's assumed mindset and approach to those entries as well. The leak in question is discussing details surrounding this new Sonic game coming out next year in 2022, and how it's called Sonic Rangers. This leak, as far as I know, existed way back in August of last year, almost a whole year ago, but the main one everyone's referring to is another from last January. Both of these leaks align with one another, but the latter explicitly calls this Sonic Rangers. The thing that makes this hard to avoid and easy to believe is two things. Someone looked into the metadata, like the coding and programming of the trailer itself. The file name is dubbed Rangers Teaser, but most strikingly, SEGA accidentally referred this new Sonic game as Sonic Rangers via a press release sometime after the Sonic Central. Eurogamer covered it, SEGA mailed out to members of the PR the following, announcing the new console experiences Sonic Colors Ultimate and Sonic Rangers. Further details on Netflix, Sonic Prime, mobile news, musical events, and much more. This video is less about whether or not the rumor/leak is real. I'm like 99% convinced it's probably real. Could it be an elaborate fake somehow? The chance is always there. I'm fine if it's something else entirely, especially if the premise and game will be solid. But between dozens of news sources are reporting on SEGA mentioning Sonic Rangers, especially the metadata for the trailer having Rangers in it, multiple news outlets talking about the former, and the leak itself, and it's legit the only talk of the town among Sonic fans at the moment. It's hard for me to so much as pretend it's 100% fake, let alone pretend to ignore it has plenty of odds in its favor. This video is more discussing the idea of this kind of Sonic game existing, and going back to the teaser itself and SEGA's whole approach to this game for this series. We'll start with the August version of this leak first. The person describes how it's not an adventure remake, and he or she and other panelists didn't give a whole lot of feedback due to the fear of SEGA changing too much too drastically from their original version. The game's described as like an open world, taking place in a gloomy, grassy, uninhabited island dotted with ruins, the game taking heavy inspiration from The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, having little puzzles like the Korok seeds scattered throughout, you defeat alien and robot bosses scattered throughout the land to obtain Chaos Emeralds, gaining access to a foggy forest area once you obtain all 7, which is supposedly the final boss area. No major characters besides Sonic, and no major story. The final boss you fight, this giant colossus-like entity you climb and hit its weak points as Supersonic, with infinite theme playing. He or she concludes with how these can subject to change, and at that time, there wasn't a reveal yet. Now, there is a likely chance the latter half of this will definitely be changed, assuming this is true. If in its theme during the final boss is heavily likely to be a placeholder, like many early builds of games with recent tunes from a previous installment, it's hard to believe there will be no other characters besides Sonic, at the very least Eggman and Tails, so there will likely be some kind of story and more characters beyond Sonic, since every main game has had more than these characters minus colors and some kind of story involved every single time. The main version of this leak is where it gets interesting and lines up with the first version. The person states how he/she did a focus test for a game called Sonic Rangers once again, being an open world game taking heavy inspiration from The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. The person did 2 20-minute demos exploring the open world with a potential final boss involved. It's open world with small enemies, puzzles, and platforming challenges. Beating all of these rewards XP, and there's some sort of skill tree where you can unlock abilities, one of which being a spin cycle of sorts, to where if you hold Y, Sonic will make a trail behind him, and trapping enemies in a circle will kill all of them. Lock-on attacking returns, there are bosses scattered throughout that grant orbs upon defeat, and getting enough orbs will give you a portal to access to cyberspace. Cyberspace levels are apparently generation-styled levels, and the music goes hard. Beating them fast enough grants Chaos Emeralds. New voice work was done by Roger for Sonic, but the combat was apparently boring and very button mashed. As a part of the final boss, you cut through a thick fog to where you couldn't go to before. The boss is this sort of gigantic robot tree. You fly around a supersonic utilizing the abilities you got. You're on a timer yet physically invincible like most supersonic boss fights, with a ghost girl refilling your ring count from time to time, and the demo ended after the boss fight. Despite being an early build, the person described it as rough. So the best way I can describe this in short, the way I'm processing all of this information and the best way I could picture this kind of game based off of these takes and previous Sonic games, is that the world will be similar to Breath of the Wild in landscape and themes and approach, but will likely be probably much smaller than Breath of the Wild's world, but with Sonic moving around it. The Korok-like puzzles and enemies overworld will be vaguely similar to Breath of the Wild's world in combat, but more akin to Sonic Unleashed, since that game had a sort of skill tree and RPG elements described above. The puzzle elements will be simple, innocuous patterns that look vaguely off, like you're supposed to interact with them in a certain way. Also, like some of the Power Moons in Super Mario Odyssey, some of the platforming challenges also make me think of Mario Odyssey, since that game had obstacle courses and scarecrows that give mini platform challenges for moons. This will probably cater more to Sonic's speed and abilities rather than something slow and compact like Mario's platforming. The skill tree will likely give Sonic some of his usual abilities, the lightspeed dash, a bounce, a tornado move, etc., but maybe some new and unique ones, somewhat being reminded of 06's gem system, and the main stages are likely the cyberspace stages, taking on multiple visual themes and level designs, but will be the main courses as far as action stages. Those will probably be your typical boost stages akin to Generations, if not best case scenario, slightly on the shorter side but solid and satisfactory enough in stage length, or worst case scenario, like Force's stages, which are inherently short and basic. It will have a hodgepodge of elements across some Sonic and non-Sonic games, but it's going for the open world Breath of the Wild approach. It'll have that open-ended atmosphere and feel Sonic games from Sonic Adventure to 06 had, but actually open-ended, just with boost stages sprinkled here and there. It'll basically be an open world Sonic game with these things, or something similar, but again, just with boost gameplay sprinkled. And the best way I can think of with what SEGA and Sonic teams trying to capture with this is that they're trying to put a more ambitious spin on Sonic by adapting him into some modern game conventions, the whole open world thing, while also trying to stick with Sonic's core foundation to an extent, alongside striking a sort of middle ground between Adventure's open-endedness and the boost's high-speed instinctive platforming. This also seems like a way to address the whole adoration to open-ended Sonic fan games. You guys remember throughout the 2010s, Sonic fans and content creators kept praising over the moon multiple open-ended Sonic games like Sonic Utopia or Green Hill Paradise, so this might be a way for them to capture those kinds of people and that interest. Now, before I get into the nitty-gritty of this and get deeper into the potential this has, I want to revisit the teaser itself. The teaser itself, what most cracked down on it, is that the boost is likely coming back. There's a realistic environment Sonic's running around in with like zero cartoony influence. Sonic running in a wholly 100% realistic environment, something Sonic hasn't really done since 06 or Unleashed, the former being a more open-ended Sonic game. There's some cybernetic theme with the pixels in Sonic's boost, and the technological cutoff effects at the end of the trailer, and those ancient characters depicting the word Zap. Most of this does align with the leaks and rumors, but plenty of the teaser's details can still be a part of an only boost game or a different type of Sonic game than anything I described if these leaks are wrong. but the fact this leak is the talk of the town amongst the Sonic community, I think, speaks for how much of a nothing teaser that teaser was and how bad of a move showing that little was. I already went into vast detail why I think the way the teaser was set up wasn't a good marketing strategy in my last Sonic video. Never mind, Sonic's State of Quandary got thicker. It's a tired and flawed approach that past Sonic games, especially Forces, have done with their teasers and trailers. It hasn't boded well for other games like Metroid Prime 4 or Bayonetta 3 with that approach, despite they could likely get away with doing that. Sonic is a series that can't afford doing this approach, trying to win fans' trust again with a CGI trailer giving ludicrously little context to the game itself, and assume it can slide with the benefit of the doubt for most fans doing this approach again, when fans now more than ever are cautious and hesitant with Sonic, especially with how this specific approach backfired hard with Forces, how it proved you can't let CGI speak for the overall gameplay beyond the form it'll take. It doesn't speak for the quality of the game, the confidence SEGA has with this game, or anything subtle or major, when there's almost zero context to the gameplay itself, whether an illusion like Force's first trailer depicting Sonic's abilities in the Boost games and classic Sonic's return, or like no gameplay, even just 3 seconds of gameplay or something more regarding the story would have helped. Getting that extra trust and confidence from the beginning is the best way to go about it, etc, etc. Just check out the second half of that video for my whole stance on that. But my point is, these leaks being as prominent as they are, and basically encompassing all discussion surrounding the new Sonic game now, speaks for how flawed the teaser was, and they should have provided a tiny little something more. If you like the teaser or think it sufficed for you and you're really hyped for this new game just from that alone, great, that's wonderful. But to me, all I just described about the teaser itself would have been the extent of the discussion surrounding the game for like a day or two, a week at best. Literally no one's talking about the teaser anymore, just the leaks now and the potential surrounding the game based off the information surrounding the leaks, because that's basically the only extra information we have on it now. Whether or not SEGA meant to originally give that extra info originally. That's how flat the teaser was in my opinion. And with the way SEGA's mistakenly confirmed Sonic Rangers is a thing that exists, that makes me think they have little to no choice but to reveal at least another type of teaser or trailer, like a gameplay tease, similar to the Sunset Heights gameplay tease, sometime in June, whether at E3 or in an anniversary event like the musical performance or something. They're indirectly backing themselves into a corner with this, I feel like, but they can easily just not disclose any further information about Sonic Rangers until after June. Anything can happen. But as far as the actual information regarding Sonic Rangers and the type of form it may be taking, I'm skeptical, but again hesitant. The idea of Sonic going more open world is something I'm completely on board with. Open world games are just more and more popular than they ever have been. Zelda Breath of the Wild, one of the biggest games this past decade. Games like GTA 5, Skyrim, Fallout 4, Red Dead Redemption 2, No Man's Sky, Super Mario Odyssey. Games that either build on their own 3D open world conventions and vastly expand upon them, or redefine their series and genre in a way with how groundbreaking and ambitious they are. Like Sonic in an open world with smaller boost-like stages and platforming challenges and overworld combat can definitely work and potentially be one of the best games in the entire franchise, no doubt. Not only that, an open world like Sonic game is exactly the kind of ambitious step the series needs in some point. There will still be boost stages, yet the way this is described makes it sound like that's not the primary focus or way one can describe this game. It's that familiar yet different approach if they play their cards right, that this can feel like a fresh step for the series if this goes well. The idea at least has a ton of promise. My only problem is there are several counterbalances to the game potentially being good. The first counterbalance is open world games are inherently a much bigger task. It's one of the most daunting types of games you can make in the industry. As ambitious and potentially limitless those kinds of games are, they're so easy to screw up. Hence No Man's Sky's horrible wrap upon release to its eventual redemption a few years later, albeit it had a more complicated matter to deal with. A couple, really. The second one, SEGA and Sonic Team couldn't even manage to make a competent boost game with Forces, even when they were given 4 years to develop that, so I already don't have much reason to believe they'll be competent this time, given last time and the way they went about announcing Sonic Rangers in the first place. And lastly, these leaks give context to the game's form, but not the quality itself. We still don't know how good the game may be, or how confident the development and marketing team is with this game. There's a ton of multi-variables and factors they'd really have to fine-tune if they want this game to succeed or be entertaining at least. How will Sonic control in the overworld? How will he control in the boost stages? How much momentum-based physics will be there, if at all? Will the skill tree have depth and be easy to follow like in Unleashed? How many abilities will Sonic have, and will those abilities be good fun, and useful? How big is this world? How many kinds of puzzles, challenges, and collectibles will there be? How long will the levels be? How good is the level design? How many themes across both the overworld and cyberspace will there be? How good will the story and writing be? Etc. Gameplay is the most common factor people talk about in how good or ambitious a Sonic game is, but there's a ton of stuff here they really need to be careful with if they want this Sonic game to catch on, not just making the gameplay good. The potential leaves a lot of room to work with, but it's hard for me to get that hype when I still don't know how good the game will end up being, or how much to the game there will be. Trust me when I say I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer because I want Sonic to fail. No, I want a good Sonic game, man. Sonic Generations was, in my opinion, the last good 3D Sonic game up until this point, and that came out a decade ago. I want a good 3D Sonic, and I'll dance around more of the potential in a second, but I still don't have a lot of reason to get excited when this could easily either not exist and still be fake, but underdeliver and fail to capture original visions and potential like some Sonic games already did. The potential surrounding this game can easily live up and deliver if SEGA and Sonic Team truly are serious about putting forth their immense amount of time and various resources to good use. Sonic running around in a vast open world with little challenges, enemies, and breakaway boost levels can be fun as heck. The world itself could be fun to explore. The boost levels could hit those highs Unleashed and Generations levels hit. The combat may sharpen up and be solid, especially given sentiment on that were based on early builds of a game that's still not coming out for another year and a half. The story and writing revolving around it may be great. Again, assuming this is what the next Sonic game is going to be like, I'm on board with a lot of ideas here, and I think this is a good step as to what Sonic should try next. But Sonic running around an open world being fun, you'd have to make him control well for it to work, especially if momentum physics are involved. Sonic having momentum-based physics in this kind of game, I feel like is rudimentary, not even just because Sonic with momentum physics is the popular sentiment a lot of fans share and feel like what makes a really good Sonic game, but primarily because they're likely putting Sonic in an open world. Boosting around it may be fun, but adding momentum physics like Sonic Adventure or Sonic Adventure 2 or the 2D games would add a lot more replay value and depth to the core game design. Look at Mario Odyssey, that game has momentum physics. The world's overall design as well should be good, lending itself to the open nature and giving the player stuff to do, but especially lend itself to Sonic's mechanics and gameplay design. The skills and abilities you can get add flexibility in the player choosing if it's a skill tree, but the skills need to be impactful in some way that'll affect the general mechanical design of Sonic. The cyberspace levels could be fun and exciting, but you'd have to give them proper length and good level design that complements the boost like Unleashed and Generations did. I'm open to Sonic doing the boost again, but they've missed the mark a bit with colors and especially in Forces, so this could easily re-cement people's indifference to the boost, because a lot of people got sick of the boost after Forces. The challenges and puzzles around the world would have to be both well designed and rewarding enough to be incentivizing for the player, and there would have to be plenty to do as is. The world itself could be more engaging if there are other characters, towns, and civilizations established as well, adding more life to the game and world. The story could match the scope of the world itself and have cyberspace impact the overall world in a high-stakes manner, similar to Dark Gaia's influence in Unleashed. Like, if they don't mess this up, this has plenty of room to be one of the greatest Sonic games of all time. But there's so much that can easily derail this game's quality. Between SEGA and Sonic Team's incompetence with multiple Sonic games, the scope and ambition surrounding the game itself, and potentially too daunting of a task for them, and it's too tricky to say how well or poor they may go about developing this game. The guys who mentioned how the demo held up is the only reasonable instance I can give the benefit of the doubt on, because the most recent one, where he says the overall combat was rough, is basically 2 years before the game will be done. So that has time to reasonably iron out, but only time will tell if this open world Sonic game could live up to the potential it has, and if this will prove to be the Blue Blur's best outing since last decade, or not. What do you think? Is there a ton of potential for this Sonic game to be one of the greatest? Do you think SEGA will deliver, or is their track record and history too muddled or inconsistent for you to jump the gun? Let me know what your thoughts are down below of what Sonic Rangers maybe are in the comments. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more Sonic content to come and more gaming content in general, as E3 is just around the corner. Stay super.
Hey, 妹妹，嘿，我来呀！共和大哈哈呀！拉面，嘿，来面，排根面，共和再见呀！哈哈，拉面，上手面，谢谢。